Hey, what's up, guys? So, a while back, this guy named Andrew Wilson posted a video criticizing Sam Seder and his proposal to implement a 90% tax on income above $3 million. In this video, Andrew completely misunderstands Sam's argument, although later he'll pretend that he understood it perfectly. And this is what he has to say in response to Sam's argument.
If we want to deal with the debt, and if that's a genuine concern, we can go back to the time in this country where we had the greatest economic expansion during the 50s and the 60s, when we had a top tax marginal rate of 90% of every dollar that would be earned over $470,000. Today, it would be $3 million.
So what this guy proposes, you have to think about it, right? He's saying at $3 million and 90% would leave you with what? 300,000? Leave you with $300,000. So what in...
Okay, so that is the fundamental misunderstanding of Sam's argument. Sam is not saying, I want to tax all income at 90%. He's saying in that clip on the Piers Morgan show, every dollar above $3 million is taxed at 90%. So Andrew has just completely misunderstood that. So in a later video, Andrew was coping with the fact that he didn't understand what Sam was saying, and Sam actually called him out on his show about it. And this is what he had to say in response to that.
Cedar really seems to think he had something there because we watched an off clip where I was giving a postulation about if you had an actual 90% tax on people's wages or something like this.
Or something like that. Except, no, you weren't talking about a postulation. You were talking about Sam's actual position. Let's rewatch that clip.
So what this guy proposes, you have to think about it, right?
See what this guy proposes, not something that you made up. You think that Sam wants a 90% tax on all $3 million, which is just not the case. Then Andrew watched Sam on the PBD podcast talking about the same topic and said some other dumb shit that I want to talk about.
Once you get over 4 million, every extra dollar after that is taxed at a 90% rate.
That's what you want.
That is what we had in this country for several decades in the post-World War.
Why do you think that's good, though? Because we talked about this. Why do you think that's good?
I'll tell you. Because it flattens wealth disparity.
Okay.
And that is when you have the greatest expansion of the economy.
Right.
When
All right.
It didn't flatten wealth disparities. That's a lie. It's a total lie. And by the way, they still weren't paying the shit, right? Like they still weren't paying the shit. And like
they weren't paying the shit. They weren't paying the shit. So he's just wrong on both points. Okay, so yes, it did decrease wealth inequality. Wealth inequality has increased since then. And yes, when we're talking about the effective tax rate on the top 1%, they were paying much higher than they are today. So let's look at wealth inequality first. So this is from data provided by the Federal Reserve. It says here, in the past 60 years, America witnessed a massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to the wealthiest families, increasing wealth inequality. In 1963, the wealthiest families had 36 times the wealth of families in the middle of the wealth distribution. By 2022, they had 71 times the wealth. So yes, wealth inequality was much lower in the 1950s and 60s when taxes were much higher on the wealthy. When it comes to the effective tax rate, in the 1950s, the top marginal rate was 91%. Today, it is 37%. In the 50s, the effective tax rate, meaning what they actually paid as a percentage of their total income, including all of the marginal rates, they paid 42 to 45%. In 2023, they paid 26 to 28%. So it was much higher in the 1950s, but I thought they weren't paying the shit. Yes, they were. They had a far higher effective tax rate. So he's just wrong on both points. So they also talk about how the 90% tax rate would destroy the American economy, it would disincentivize investment and working. The only problem with that is it didn't in the 1950s and 1960s when we had much higher tax rates. Economic growth in the 1950s and 60s was very high, which completely contradicts their argument. So Andrew and his little buddy over here, they're just wrong about everything they talked about in these videos, but they really don't like being wrong, so they have to just cope. But anyway, guys, that's enough for me. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.